This is The Bottom Line with Boney Mua.
Hello there, and a very warm welcome to The Bottom Line with your host, Boney Mua. Today, we are at the office of the Public Independent Conciliator for the Northwest region. Its pioneer president is Mr. Tamfu Simon Fai, who is a petroleum geologist by training. In this program, he addresses issues of governance, conflict resolution, and public service delivery in the Northwest region of the country. Mr. Tamfu, you are welcome to the program, The Bottom Line with me, Boney Mua.
Thank you very much for having me on your program.
For our viewers who may not be familiar with your office, can you briefly explain what the Public Independent Conciliator is all about?
The Office of the Public Independent Conciliator is like an interface between the service users of councils and the authorities of councils. So the councils deliver service to the population, and the population uses that service, and within that interaction, there is normally some kind of problem, whether the service is not delivered well or somebody is not receiving, seekers well. That is where we come in to solve any problems, if there are problems at all, to solve the problems and solve them amicably. And our service is free.
And when we talk of problem solving, it's just like, can you sanction?
We can sanction, but for now, we have adopted a method of persuading people because we are mediating. We are reconciling people. So we want, for this time, to sensitize people about our own mission here so that they should know that they can solve their problems amicably. But if we have any recalcitrant mayors, we can go to some higher heights.
And the question people are asking is, how do you blend your training as a petroleum geologist to that of Public Independent Conciliator? How do you blend it?
It is something which I ask myself. I ask myself this question because when I was appointed here, I was gripped by fear. Since I only knew how to talk with machines, looking for, finding and producing crude oil. I found myself with the population talking with people. I think as a God-fearing man, God has a lot to do with my job because I approached the population, and then the population, was of the opinion that I could work with them.
And so far, how do you give yourself, that self-assessment for the work done so far?
I see myself through the comments of the population. The population is very happy with the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator, simply because the legislator felt that the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator should come and solve the problems of the underserved, the underprivileged, the downtrodden. So we came to this region, and then we have been doing this job, and then to sensitize people to know that the population is the king, and that the mayors are called to serve the population. So when we came and saw this situation where mayors were calling themselves lords, which is not allowed by law, intimidating the population that they are lords, we called them to order, and we reversed it. The lords are now the population, and then the servants are the mayors.
Mr. Public Independent Conciliator, the truth be told, the beginning was not all that rosy. The population, especially the mayors, they were not receptive to what you were saying.
Not at all. Not at all. It was not rosy because they felt that these are some of those lip services which are done to the population to pacify them. But we took our job serious, and then we addressed ourselves to the job, and the results were seen. We were solving the problems of the population. Solving the problems of the population means a lot of sensitization because you solve somebody's problem, he is broadcasting it and going this way. And this other person say, hey, I have that problem. If you have solved your problem at the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator, I should be able to go there. And more to that, you solve this problem amicably. You solve this problem without paying anything. In a region where it is poverty-stricken, people are very poor, the court systems are expensive. To get a lawyer here, it's a whole budget, and then to go to the court, you know what it means. So we offer to solve their problems, which otherwise would have been solved in court, amicably, so they loved it.
Yeah, Mr. Tamfu, let's go back to the genesis of the creation of the Public Independent Conciliator. It was after the major national dialogue.
Yes.
Was it really called for? I mean, this Public Independent Conciliator, because some people are saying that, oh, maybe to separate the Northwest and Southwest from the rest of the country. It was not uncalled for. We talk about national unity. Was it really uncalled for?
I think it was called for, and the objective was to give greater autonomy to the English-speaking regions, because historically, these regions have been used to autonomy. So they wanted a situation where we can solve our problems here in Bamenda and in Buea.
Not passing through Matasem to go to Yaoundé.
Exactly. And you remember that when our people used to go to Yaoundé, because of the language problems, you would hear phrases like, "Je ne comprends pas votre anglais." And it was very frustrating for our people. And then, of course, the problems we are solving today are the problems which were yesterday figuratively being solved in Yaoundé. So this is our own interpretation of the effectiveness of decentralization. Because most of the problems, I mean all the problems we have solved here, never cross Matasin to Yaoundé anymore.
Yes, your role, as stated above, is ensuring fairness in public service delivery. In your assessment, what is the biggest challenges facing local governance in your region today?
The biggest challenge which I have seen is unfairness. When a mayor is voted in a council, the first thing he does is to take project for that municipality and put in his own quarter or in his own village, recruit people from his own village, and so forth. So we came in to say, no, look, you have to spread this thing, because your recruitment, your behavior, and then your distribution of projects should reflect the geography of the municipality. So we go in there for fairness, and we've been preaching it. We have not yet reached there yet, but we think that we're getting there, because sensitization is something which is very, very important. So, and the public is aware. The public has been drilled to participate in their own development, to choose their own project, and to support their own project. So gone are those days when the mayors did everything single-handedly.
And the term you use, unfairness, is a generic term. I mean, I would really want you to go down to specifications. The unfairness in not only recruitment, maybe contract awards and things like that. I want you to actually...
No, let me give you an example. Yeah. When you have a situation where you have, for example, 71 projects, and I'm talking about the regional assembly, 71 projects for 2025, which are going to be executed. You have 35 councils, and then you have 5 councils without any project. Does that make sense to you?
No, not at all.
Fairness, spatial distribution of this project will require that at least one municipality should have a project, and not that 5 municipalities would not have even a project out of 71. That is where we measure fairness.
And many citizens complain about poor service delivery in the civil status registration. Funds allocated on a yearly basis for road maintenance, and that at times done or not even done at all. What are you doing with that? What do you do?
No, for that we're preaching that when things are free, they should be free. Civil status delivery, documentation. This was a project that we ran. we came here in Bamenda and we discovered that birth certificates were paid for before deliverance. Death certificates were paid for. Marriage certificates were paid for. And the problem we had was that different councils charge different rates. And we said, but what kind of a country is this where we have these different rates? We went into the law and discovered that this documentation is free of charge by law. So we launched a campaign for the free deliverance of these documents, and was a very, very successful campaign, because one of the things mayors did was that they told us that the booklets which they used for the deliverance were scarce. They were not even there. They were not printed. We put that in our report to the President of the Republic. The President ordered 200 million francs worth of booklets to be printed for the whole country, even though the problem was, raised in the Northwest. And then, of course, we canceled that. Let me go back to say that even though these booklets were scarce, when you brought money out, the booklet was available. So it was part of this corruption that we were fighting. Then the council said they were being crushed under the debts of FACOM.
So we will talk about debts of their predecessors.
Yes. That is, the councils have been taking loans from FACOM for years, and then they are being crushed under this debt. And then we said, okay. And then, of course, in the Northwest, as you will see, because of the problem we have, there are no revenue-generating activities. So the council depended upon the subvention from the state. And then with this debt, we raised it to the attention of the president. The president canceled most of the debt of councils. Then on the civil status documentation, we ran this project, and then we saw the relevance of this, because when you don't have a birth certificate, believe me, Bonnie, you don't have a birth certificate, you don't have a nationality, you don't even have a name, because your name is from the birth certificate. You don't exist. This is a fundamental document that we should not be joking with. And then we launched this campaign, and it became very, very successful, because that is what the population wanted to get. And then, of course, when the population saw that it was good for them, it was in their own interest, they were with us. And we marginalized the mayors who were actually extorting.
Before they were the bosses, but now they are...
No, they are the servants. So that happened, and then the population was liberated. At the end of 2024, the President of the Republic came in very strongly to enact a law on civil status documentation system in Cameroon, a law which renders this digital. So there will be no fraud anymore. Every citizen will have a unique identification number, which means that you can get your birth certificate lost anywhere. You don't need to go back to where you were born. You just stand there and then get into the system. And this system is housed in the Ministry of Justice. And what it tells you everything, that this is a very important thing that we don't joke with. So this is the solution to the problem that we have raised in the Northwest, and we are very proud of it.
Yes, and it should be noted that you deal directly with not the presidency, but with the president.
Yes, we report to the president directly. Yes. It's not me talking. It's the text creating the office of the Public Independent Conciliator and the duties of the Public Independent Conciliator, that he should render his report to the President of the Republic.
Yes, and you've been around to all the 7 divisions of the Northwest region. Can you tell us some of the experiences you got? Because when we talk about poor service delivery in terms of road infrastructure, when you go around, what did you experience? Because people are talking about like the Bamenda Road, monies being allocated on a yearly basis, the road is poorly done or not even done at all. So, and what do you do with situations like that?
I went to WOM in particular in August. You know what that means? In August, in WOM, the road was very bad, almost impassable, and we got stuck in the mud in several spots. And of course, the security that was supposed to protect the mission had to calm down, put down their guns, and they were pushing the cars. And this was seen on television, and of course,
social media everywhere.
And social media everywhere. And then I think the powers that be, so that it was a thing to actually address and resolve. And some little work was done, at least to clear the mud and so forth. But what is left to be done is the permanent solution, the ring road. We're happy that the stretch from Kumbo to Misaje is there. We're waiting for the stretch from Misaje to WOM and WOM to Bamenda.
Is it going to be from Bamenda to WOM back to Misaje, or from Misaje? Because you're talking like you know exactly how it's going to be done.
I don't know how it's going to be done practically, but as a citizen, I want to see the whole picture. And I want to leave Bamenda and go to WOM on a good road, and leave Misaje, go to WOM and to Bamenda on a good road.
Yeah, but the issue of funds being allocated yearly for maintenance, the job is not being done. What is your office doing to address that type of situation?
Well, I can tell you very frankly, that doesn't fall within my competence as such. We only deal with projects which are run by the councils. When I say council, I mean the regional council, the city council, subdivisional council, and local councils. But we use the national roads to attend these councils, and we make our reports. We said, okay, from Bamenda to whom we encountered these problems, and these reports go straight to the president. And probably that is why you see that some attention is being given to some of these roads.
Yes, what types of complaints do you receive most frequently in the office of the Public Independent Conciliator for the Northwest? What are some of the complaints that are frequent?
The most frequent complaints are complaints of non-payment of allowances, non-payment of salaries some of the time, and then problems of trespassing on that property by the councils, problems of not paying contractors who have rendered services to the councils. So we receive all these problems, and sometimes we receive problems of etiquette. That is, you go to the council, you are not well received, you can complain to us because we are in charge of making councils to render service in an ethical manner. So we have this, but believe you me, we have lots of complaints which are not within our own domain of interest.
And land issues, for example, land issues are not common.
Land issues, marital issues, witchcraft, a chieftaincy.
A chieftaincy dispute.
Dispute. They bring them to us, and we tell them, look, you've read our decree. We don't deal with this. They said, no, we must bring it to you because your institution is credible. We have been trying over the years to solve these problems, and we have not solved the problem. When that happens, when that comes to us, we take the problem. Even though we cannot solve it, we take the problem, replace the complainant, and stand as an institute, PIC, and address the problem with the institution that is being accused. We've solved a lot of problems like that.
Yes, I want you to highlight this issue of amicable settlement of this dispute. Because honestly, we talk about sustainable development. It's not because you've taken me to court, I've warned you that the problem ends there. You talk about witchcraft. You talk about other forms of practices. We don't know the next step the other complainant can take. How do you highlight this aspect of amicable resolution of conflicts?
It's a whole negotiation. I normally say PIC, the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator, is not a Congosa house. Because you bring a problem here, be sure that your respondent will come in front of us and you will be there to talk. So what we do is that when you bring a problem here, we take your problem, we see what we can do with it, ask you further information, and we transmit your problem to the respondent. The respondent looks at it and then says, okay, we can solve this problem. Then they bring, two of you now come in front of us. The first thing we do is to sign a pledge form. Pledge that this problem will be solved amicably.
And a pledge of compliance that you comply to the decision.
Comply with it. That you have chosen the path of amicable settlement. So we look at the case, and then in the end, of course, we don't give right or wrong. And it's very difficult. We don't give right or wrong, but somebody is wrong, somebody is right. So what we do is we do give and take, not give or take. So what we do is we say, okay, this is your brother. You're bound to live together with him. You have to give up something so that he can get something, and we live in an amicable manner. So we've seen that people who come to this office, when they're approaching the office building, they are at daggers drawn. They don't even talk to each other. But when they leave here, they embrace themselves in front of us first, and then they go as brothers and sisters.
Thank you. And what steps should a citizen take if they feel mistreated by a public institution? What should they take?
Well, the first thing to do is to approach that public institution. In our case, is the council. Okay. You approach the council. If they don't give you attention, and you have proof that you have approached them and they don't give you attention, you come with the problem here. When you come with the problem to the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator, we will look at your problem, we will ask you additional information, and then we will summon the authority that has been accused. And then we start the conciliatory process.
But you talk only about the councils, but we know that in the case of the Northwest now, people are complaining about the military, the civil police force and everything. So they cannot come and complain here?
No. You can't complain here because that is not in our domain, but there is a yearning because of the apparent, I call it apparent success that we have had so far. Yeah. People are saying that, no, the security should be included. The administration should be included. The hospitals should be included. And utility companies are crying that they should bring their problems to us because people are stealing water and electricity. You see, so the yearning is that the missions of the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator should be expanded to embrace other aspects of life.
Yes, and in cases where government institutions do not cooperate with your recommendations, what actions do you take? The local councils,
no,
of course.
We have had a solution to that. We've adopted a system of naming and shaming, and it has been very, very effective because nobody wants their council to be published or the name of their council to be published. No mayor wants to be known as, responsible for extortion. So that has worked a lot. So this our system of publishing. It has worked because when it is punishment or take you to court, take you to prison, sometimes not even published. People don't even know that you are in prison. But when we publish, we've seen it. It is very effective.
This naming and shaming, I want you to throw more light on that because it is very effective, no doubt. Since you took over office, the naming and shaming, the early years and today, how can you compare the two?
Oh, very great improvement. Very great improvement. Let me give you an example of a council without calling its name.
Yes.
This guy, the mayor, came to the council. This council was won by the CBDM party. but it was formerly with the SDF. He came and said, okay, my party has won. The first thing he did was to send out all the workers. Said, today it is SIPDEM, no more SDF. And then, of course, the workers who were actually recruited under the labor code, which has no political connotation, they had no other way than to come here. They came here, we went back to those mayors, and they installed those people. And then the second thing the mayors did, one of the mayors did was a polygamist. The first thing he did was recruited his 2 wives. And then took all the projects that came to the municipalities to his own quarter. And then we turned on him. Worst of all, he pumped the employment registers with 25 ghost workers.
These are all documented.
Documented. We published, and then we shamed, and everything has come to order.
Yes, given the ongoing crisis in the Northwest region, how has your office managed to operate effectively? Here we are talking about ghost towns, shutdowns, lockdowns, and things like that. How do you manage to operate in this region with the ongoing crisis?
Maybe we've operated smoothly because in Northwest, in Banminda in particular, upstation is regarded as a green zone. We have our principal activities on Mondays, and we have never failed coming to work on Mondays. But mark you that our message is well taken by the population. And when I talk about the population, I'm inclusive, including the separatists, because they themselves have said it, that the PIC has a voice of hope, and that they should give us a chance.
And how do you reach out to them?
We don't, this thing, you don't identify them. What we do is we just do sensitization. We tell everybody that we were created to care for the downtrodden, who they are, for the underserved, who they are, for the underprivileged, who they are. So that's why they relate with us. But since it is a situation where you don't see names written on the forehead, you don't know who is who. But this is the feedback that we have.
But this aspect of sensitization, do you have media outlets that you actually put across your messages, or you contain yourself by just doing what you're doing without the people knowing exactly what is happening in the office?
An excellent communication strategy. This communication strategy comprises some engagement that we've had with all, I'm not saying most, all the community radios in the region, so that our message here is heard in one. It's heard in Wedikum, Bonakuma, Furawa, everywhere. And then we have community-based assistants who are in all municipalities. And like you will have it, a lot of them are imams, they are pastors, and they are priests. And then we have co-opted the mayors themselves on board to give us quarterly reports about the activities of their councils. So with all this, we know what is happening. And to crown it all, we have this famous perception survey at the end of the year where we serve questionnaires to everybody in the municipality, almost everybody.
This question might be a repetition, but I want you to actually hammer on it. How does your office contribute to peace building and trust restoration between the population and the administration?
Let me get you back to the history of the crisis that we have today. Some of the causes or the causes that triggered this was that the Anglophones were marginalized, they were discriminated, and so forth. So the legislator, in thinking about the office of the Public Independent Conciliator, felt that this problem of marginalization and discrimination should be addressed with the basic unit of administration, which is the council, and that all the cases, all the complaints which emanate from this structure should be solved locally amicably. So some of our people who went to Yaoundé with problems don't no more go to Yaoundé, and then they remain here. So in an indirect way, that is how we're bringing, the peace to the region, and everybody is happy about it.
Yes. Now, if you were asked to give a rating of the security situation in your region, 5 years ago and today, what is the rating that you're going to give?
There's a very marked improvement today. I've not lost sight of the fact that there are sporadic things here and there. But 5 years ago, there was some coordination. There was like the fighting a cause. Today, there is nothing like that. In fact, I have had to question some of the arrested fellows, and I tell them, why are you holding a gun? He says, well, they have told us to hold a gun. What are you fighting for? I'm fighting for a cause. What cause? I don't know. This is what they're saying. And then most of them, they have no employment, they have guns with them, and they take risks with their lives.
And somebody with a gun and is hungry, what he can do. To the street.
Either he wins and gets someone, or he's killed. So me, I see this as the end of this crisis.
The rating, I want the rating now in terms of maybe over 10. How many percent? Is it a 9 on 10 or 7 on 10?
Yeah, I can say 7 on 10 is solved, because what you see, the 3 remaining are these sporadic things which are not coordinated.
Yes, and you said something very interesting, because at the beginning, it is like they had the support of the population. They were supporting them because it was coordinated, as you said.
Yes.
But now that it is not coordinated, and the vision or the sense of the whole thing, they have lost the sense, the population too has withdrawn.
Yes.
And that is why
the population holds education very high in their spirit. They came and said this thing was going to take a few weeks, a few months, pull your children out of school, we're going to arrange it. How many years today? Everybody is tired, especially the population is tired, and the population is not seeing a future because children are not going to school. So as a parent, the population is completely dissatisfied, and that is why there is no support to it, and that's why I'm seeing the end of this crisis.
Do you believe that there is enough political will to implement the changes needed for better governance in the region? Let's look at both sides in the conflict, the separatists and the government. There are some rogue elements in the military who sell ammunition, who sell information. And then, of course, there are also some people in the government who want it to continue because they are making money out of the conflict.
Yeah, this is what we hear from the quarter. I mean, I have no proof for it, and I don't really say I can, swear.
Say with certainty. Yeah.
Certainty about it. But when there's a war situation, there are always bad eggs. There are always bad eggs. And these are isolated things which could be taken out, and then we solve this problem. So this is not something which is like a movement. You in the army, you will have a bad egg there. In the population, you will have a bad egg there. But we can take care of those.
Yeah, I'm talking about the political will now for the conflict to end. Is there? Do you see a strong political will for the conflict to end?
You see, the problem which people are talking when they talk about negotiations, dialogue, and so forth. In my own assessment, it's very difficult for me to see with whom this dialogue will take place. You see, it's very difficult for me to see with whom this dialogue will take place, and that's my point of view. So the way out for me, the way out is lay down your guns, go to DDR, and you are forgiven. Because let it be clear, those who are still in the bushes, even though they think they don't know them, they are on the registers. And the state is a big machine. It can take 10 years, 20 years, they will be caught. The only way for them to be forgiven is that they should lay down their guns and go to DDR. Because some of them leave the bushes and go and hide in Douala and Yaoundé. They are picked up.
Some even around Kiosi trying to go over to Equatorial Guinea. Remember the last case?
Picked up. Yes. So if you are in the bush, don't think that you are not known. You are known. You are in the books of government. The only way out is to go to DDR center.
Yes, since you took over office, what would you say has been your landmark achievement?
Well, the landmark achievement here is the awareness. In fact, this is the first time we have disabled local leaders. The population sees itself as the leaders. Because when we preach good governance, and then the population is with us and puts the authorities of the council in minority, you know what that means. That is the success we can have, is that the population is with us because we work in the interest of the population. Almost every service rendered by government here, whether it is official or unofficial, is paid for, except the Office of the Public Independent Conciliator. And we say that on radio. Nobody should give any dime for his problem to be solved here.
Can you give a notable case where your office successfully resolved a dispute? Names, location, time, and year, and things like that. Can you give us?
Okay. There is this case of embezzlement in Bamenda 2. The population was very happy with the council and gave land for the council to build a council hall. And the council took this land and drew a project. This project attracted a budget, which budget was disbursed, and then the project was not realized. And then we called the population complaint here officially. So we called the mayor and asked the mayor, but this is the complaint we have here. The mayor said, oh, no, the credits are in Yaoundé, they have not yet come and so forth and so on. Okay, yeah. And then we told him, we hear you loud and clear, but we can help you. Do you want us to show you that the credits were given? He said, okay, let me see. He went out of the meeting, made a few phone calls, and discovered that he was joking with people who knew what they were doing. So he saw that we knew, and he accepted that we should give him some time. We gave him, I think, 3 months. It is right there. The hall is built. Everybody is enjoying it. It is right there.
How can citizens reach out to your office if they need assistance or want to report an issue?
The office is open every day.
There's no hotline?
There's a hotline. There's a hotline here. There is, you can complain electronically, and then there's no barrier. If you don't know how to speak Pidgin, you don't know how to speak English, you don't know how to speak French, and you know how to speak a national language, you can come here, we can hire somebody to get your complaint to you. There is no barrier. Everybody comes here with the complaint, and we try to solve this complaint.
Thank you for talking to me, sir.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Okay.